Go ahead and tell me how you say it.
Philip DiGiuseppe.
But this guy, DiGiuseppe, he's my guy. I'm telling you, nobody's talking about him. I'm telling you that I think there's a good possibility he's in the opening night roster. Just that's my gut feeling. I'll leave it at that.
Nobody's talking about because we don't know who you're talking about.
Philip DiGiuseppe.
DiGiuseppe's Ricky's guy. Ricky is our guy.
Back.
Here he is, one half of the team. Donnie and Dolly, weekdays, check television 12 to noon or 10 to noon. It's our Friday regular Canucks Insider, the one and only Dhaliwal. How you doing, pretty Ricky?
They do say practice makes perfect. Philip DiGiuseppe.
Hey, nailed it.
No, but listen, people
I struggle
don't realize,
like you on some of these names, Rick. I'm with you.
But people, and by the way, Blake Price, when he does Whitecaps games, and the World Cup game, I heard him and Dolan doing, very good with names. And you got to understand, when you're live on the air, whether it's TV or radio, and it messes with your head too. People don't realize, like, look, I could be at a party and say DiGiuseppe, no problem. But when you go on the air, you're live.
An anxiety, right? You know,
yeah,
exactly. Like you haven't had 2 crowns. You're not speaking freely. It's not a loose tongue situation.
When I'm on Crown, I never ever screw up a name.
No,
ever.
No.
You should have been a broadcaster in the 70s.
Really
when
charming.
You could be on Crown and live on the air.
Yeah, when Rick's on Crown, he wants to grab you, he wants to hug you, he wants to hold you close, whisper sweet nothings in the ear. I've had the experience. It's beautiful.
I've been sick all week, and now I know why, because I just gave Price a compliment.
So let's just go over a couple of things here on the front end of it. The business today with Alvin and the 10 p.m. presser and Peterson being sent down and no corresponding move announced, despite the fact he skated with the first line. You don't believe that's a trade. You just believe that's Vasily Podkolzin coming back.
I just think it's a maneuver. I think that Alvin just said, someone quoted him, it's just to get him to Abbotsford playing time over the All-Star break. I'm not
but
hearing
it's this time of year where everybody tries to put together, connect dots, and so you don't think this is speaking to a trade.
No,
okay, let's move on. Do you think?
First of all, this happened during the show, so guys, you have to bear with me. I
No
just
problem.
did a 2-hour live show, so I haven't had any time to work on the Peterson going to Abbotsford. So I got to be honest with you guys.
Okay.
Like it's kind of not fair to ask me because I just finished a live show where I had no time to work on that, and I'm going into an interview with you guys. So I'll start working on it after this, and then we'll try and find out if anything's going on.
Horvat, do you think this is his last home game? I heard you had a go at Donnie today about how ridiculous you think holding Bo out of games would be.
Yeah, well, okay, the only thing about holding Bo out, and look, let's be honest, guys. Teams send pro scouts to games ahead of the deadline. It's very early to sit him out. We're 5 weeks away. How about if he scores 3 goals tonight for the Canucks? That his value goes up. If you guys can help me and tell me the last time a Canucks player was held out for this reason on January 27th, I can't think of one. It's way too early. It's just way too early, guys. I'm sure there's a lot of teams that are talking to the Canucks about Horvat are going to have scouts at the game tonight too, right?
Yeah.
And, his value can only go up if he scores 3 or 4 or 5
or
points.
he could get hurt, so it can go both ways. But I hear what you're saying. You're absolutely right that it is quite early to be having those conversations. I think the only reason we're even entertaining it is just because you have the break here, and so you could give Bo a couple of weeks of total rejuvenation. On Horvat,
okay.
The Kyprios report about Dallas and Jersey being hot to trot, we've heard Boston as well. Are those does that jive with what you're hearing? Dallas, Jersey, Boston might be the most interested?
Most I hear is Boston and Detroit are poking around.
Detroit is interesting. Detroit is interesting because not on a playoff spot, huh?
Matt, they have a guy named Dylan Larkin who's asking for a lot of money. He's a UFA, right? Are you understanding that if they lose Larkin, Bo would be a good fit to step in and replace him?
But he's UFA too, and the Canucks have not granted teams permission to talk to Bo about an extension. So
5 weeks to go. The Canucks may wake up one day and give Pat permission. They haven't done so yet. They haven't done that yet. But I'm just saying I can see Detroit's thinking Larkin, From what we've all heard, he's asking for a big number. If the Red Wings can't do that, Bo, whose family lives 45 minutes away from Detroit, would make a lot of sense. But it's just stuff we're hearing and stuff like that. Let me get into this week first of all, guys, because I wanted to set it up this way. I want to set it up this way, and I want to start with Kuzmenko. All right, because all this that you've seen happen with Bo really started on 14 days ago. Elvine, Rutherford, and Castonguay met with Kuzmenko's agent, Dan Milstein, for 6 hours in Miami on January 14th. They talked about a bridge deal that day. Yesterday became reality. Kuzmenko told his agent, get it done. He got it done. Why a bridge deal, people ask me? I'll tell you why. Because he's going to be 29 in a UFA when that deal's over. So you know what? The salary cap's going to be way up by then. If he keeps posting numbers the way he is, he'll be fine. So the agent's betting on the player for his production to stay the same. Milstein never considered a long-term deal. Now, this is what I want to get in. Not hearing Kuzmenko's deal had anything to do with keeping Pettersson happy. That's not the way teams operate, guys. Pettersson's literally, you can talk to him on January or July 1st about contract, but, he's a long ways away still. A lot of Kuzmenko's points were not with Pettersson. The week that Bruce Boudreau got fired, Kuzmenko was playing with Sheldon Dries for 2 games. And no matter what line this guy is put on, he produces. So, so I just wanted to say that.
So a few things here. Number one, you're quite right. I mean, you don't just do it thinking it will absolutely mean this guy's going to re-sign. I think they still have a long way to go to get Elias. Yeah, I think they still have a long way to go to demonstrate to Elias that they could be competitive. I think this helps, but it isn't necessarily a magic bullet. Secondly, I know you call it bridge. I mean, he's not an RFA, so it's not your typical bridge, but I understand what you're saying, that they wanted to get out and a second crack at unrestricted free agency prior to being 30, which is the same track that Milstein walked Artemi Panarin down, and it paid off in spades for that forward with an $11 million deal with the Rangers. Did you want to go Besser here, or did you want to go Shen? Where are we going?
Well, I wanted to get into Horvat and Pat Morris, and I know, Matt, you've worked on this as well this week. The Canucks did not meet with Bo Horvat's agent, Pat Morris, who's in town. He attended the Canucks-Blackhawks game and the Prospects game. This was very telling to everyone that was on the inside and knew what was going on. But as soon as I heard the Canucks management met with Kuzmenko's agent, I knew they wouldn't meet with Pat. They didn't meet with him in Toronto, and they didn't meet with him in Vancouver. Morris also does not.
Bo met with them here this week at a hotel at what looked like a long and troubling meeting, according to a person I know. Who saw it.
So Pat's in town. Obviously, he was going to meet with Bo. Look, most thought the Canucks would make Horvat another offer, but what's the use now? As soon as you started talking to Kuzmenko, I think in Miami they had a pretty good about 5 days ago, somebody told me they're going to get it done with Kuzmenko, and I said, ease up there, and then it did eventually happen. Here's the one thing, guys. Canucks are asking for good players in return for Bo, not just picks and prospects, but that would be a part of the package as well. You don't want to hire a new coach and sewer him. So I'm sure the Canucks have told Rick Tocchet before they hired him that we're probably going to trade Bo, but we want to get some players that can step into the lineup as well to help you, Rick. And I'm pretty sure if the Canucks told Rick Tocchet that we're trading Kuzmenko and Bo and for picks and prospects, I don't think his energy levels to accepting that job would have been super high. So it goes into what we're all saying. They don't want to rebuild. They want to retool. They kind of want to keep getting better on the fly here. So,
not talking to Morris here, guys. Is this not indicative of the extreme paranoia in this Canucks organization right now, that they are probably just afraid of leaks? Like normally, even if you're pretty dead set on trading away a player, you still involve the agent and let them know what's happening with their client and who they're likely going down. The fact that they just don't want to talk to Pat Morris it leads me to believe they're worried about leaks and worried about this getting out, and they're sort of frantic.
No, they're not worried about leaks. It's you want to know the honest truth. The Canucks, they picked Miller over Bo in the summer. They knew Bo's number in the summer, and then in early December they made an offer. Bo said no. Someone told me the moment Miller signed, both sides knew it was going to be incredibly tough to get Bo done in Vancouver. And then now he scored 31 goals, and he's already set a career high in 46, 47 games. His number, look, the bottom line, this isn't we don't like Bo or leaks or anything of that magnitude. It's we can't afford them. They can't get to Bo's July 1st number. And Bo's July 1st number is probably going to be pretty significant. And
that explains why they're not signing him, but it doesn't explain why they won't talk to the agent and involve them in the process.
Well, hold it a second. If you know you don't got the money to sign with the guy, Blake, what's the point of meeting the guy?
Because you communicate with them on the fate of their client and who they're talking to so that he can talk to the player and explain what the fate lies ahead for the player. That's what happens in this league. The fact that the team is not communicating at all with the agent, that's not normal. I mean, usually they're involved in these processes.
If they were close, they were negotiated. They haven't talked since early December, Blake.
Right.
If they were close and making offers every 7 days, then he's in town. You talk. When there hasn't been anything contract-wise with his agent since early December, which was almost 2 months ago, like Blake, they know they can't get to his number. Like they just know it's.
You don't talk contract. You talk trade with the agent. You tell the guy what's likely to happen with the client. Like that's common courtesy.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you something else. It wasn't just Pat Morris in town. The entire Newport, Craig Oster and Wade Arnott and I think Donnie Meehan, they had a group, quite the contingent in town that was at the Canucks game Tuesday, in Abbotsford at the Canucks game, and also at the Prospects game because Newport Sports represents Connor Bedard. Anyways, they all of a sudden, they've got this 3-day stretch in Vancouver, guys. And Newport Sports is here, and they represent Pod Colson, so they would have been in Abbotsford to watch him. They sent Pat to the Canucks Blackhawks game, and then they were all at the top prospects game. They were all here. What a perfect time to sit down.
I know. Bigger tragedy. They didn't meet with the Canucks, and they didn't take Rick Dhaliwal for dinner.
Here's it. Well, I feel bad. I feel shame.
They didn't take you for dinner, or did they take you for dinner?
No. I've had the cold all week, and unlike Price, I frickin' gutted it out all week. Right. Neil Citron, Halls, all this crap.
When's the last time I skipped
all week? I remember at
10:40,
Price would hurt his fingernail. He wouldn't come into work the next day. Right. You know what? And here I am all week. I gutted it out. Hold on a sec.
I don't think I ever had a sick button there. Okay. Not a single.
On to Besser. We're running short on time here. We got something lined up after this.
Running short on time. What are you? You got a commercial break you got to get to?
No. We got an appointment we got to make here. Come on,
Matt. Give me some time here. I had to cancel my steak dinner with Pat because I was sick. I was really upset. I always pay my debts. There isn't a debt out there I haven't paid. But anyways, Brock Besser, 6 to 7 teams still kicking tires. They're trying to figure out ways to take on that contract. Obviously, they've talked to his hometown team, the Wild, but Minnesota, what are they, guys? Buyers or sellers at the deadline? Mm-hmm. They got the Matt Dumba situation, UFA. They got cap issues next year. Minnesota might be tough to do. Besser, money in, money out is going to be tough. Will the Canucks have to take money on some of these bad deals or to move these contracts? I think so. But I think the interest is there. Mm-hmm. I think the toughest thing with Brock Besser right now is teams are saying because of his contract and so many teams capped out, how do we make the money work? But there's still teams in on Brock. Luke Schenn, lots of interest. But I also wonder, and this is just me wondering, guys, he's Rick Tockett's type of player. Schenn plays the game in the way Rick Tocchet did. I wonder what Tocchet would think about losing a guy like that. Luke Schenn's don't grow on trees. When Kevin BX had talked about culture, he was talking about Luke Schenn. Great teammate, great character, all that stuff. But there are lots of teams in on Luke Schenn.
Where's all the Demko noise coming from? And have you heard?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you about Demko. He's 27 years old. His prime years are coming up. All right? Nobody knows when this team's going to turn this around. Let's be honest. We thought it would turn around 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And here we are. After all the Canucks put into Demko's development, these are the years where he should be on a team going deep in the playoffs. He's entering the prime years of a goalie's career. And we don't know what the teams are going to be in the next 3 years. Teams are calling on him, but if you're moving him, you better get a damn good return on him.
It's not scientific here, Rick, but the parents were both liking tweets that were very critical of the organization.
Nothing to do with it. Look,
what do you mean? They're advisors.
So what, Blake? Parents, minor hockey parents, you've been a minor hockey dad. You know what happens all the time. I don't read anything into his parents liking those tweets. Look, this is about the player, his career, his future, and the Vancouver Canucks. I think when you look around the league and teams looking for goaltenders, I wonder about Pittsburgh. I wonder about Buffalo. I wonder about some of these teams. Are they calling Vancouver? I reported earlier this week he's going to be obviously back after the All-Star break. That's going to be 10 weeks. It was supposed to be a 6-week injury, guys. All I'm saying is I think teams are calling Demko, but if it would be one hell of a decision to move him, wouldn't it?
Because, you're not kidding.
Here, let me give you something else to chew on. When Demko comes back, and they have to send a goalie back to Abbotsford, which one are you sending back?
Who cares?
Doesn't matter. It's
Spencer Martin.
Decision. The
Spencer Martin. Maybe somebody will pick him up the contract for next year.
Well, and
if you can bury the whole thing anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
If you trade Demko, you have to get a good young goalie back in return.
Ricky, marvelous stuff. I hope you feel better. Sorry you missed out on all the festivities this week. Appreciate the time. Appreciate you suffering Blake Price. And we'll catch up next week, okay?
Last bit in. Jeff Tambellini, our good friend, listens to
this.
And he loves it when I rip Blake. He told me that.
Oh, did he? Okay. Will you give our best to Jeff?
I told him, I said, look at this. I'm doing a hit with you guys. I missed 2 agents, and I missed a text from Kojak, Thomas Drance.
Get to it.
I gotta go. I gotta go tackle the phone.
All right.
Adios. Bye.
Till next week.